Hey guys, I'm Jr. here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review Dune Part 2. If you end up enjoying this full movie review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. I want to head over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers. Take it there to my Patreon and PayPal, where you can help support me, my channel directly, and fourth to my Discord server. You can join, collab, shill, do all that cool stuff for free, and shilling will be reminded at the end of the review. With all that out of the way, let's get into Dune 2. So, with this, obviously, this has to coincide with Dune Part 1, so for the sake of brevity, a part of my links will have the my review for Part 1 of Dune. And just a quick recap from what I can remember, it wasn't that great. Especially in comparison to the original Dune movie, which I'm assuming is also based off of a book, if I remember all the lore correctly in this context. So this is a remake out of an adaptation, essentially. So yes, the movie starts out. Oh, and just so other things are clear, I've barely seen any trailers for this, and obviously we'll try to look at it as objectively as possible. So the movie begins with some narration, and it reads, the narration itself is rather stale, which, you know, whatever. But we are taken over by the main character narrating his segment of this narration. And we see that they're deep in the desert, and they begin to get caught off guard as enemies are approaching. So the enemies begin to flee once they hear a noise, which are these signals that, these pulses rather, that signal the worms. The giant worms that can devour from underneath, obviously. And the bad guys work their way up, and they are somehow sniped from up there. We never see the snipers, they're off screen. And yeah, this attack is already off to a really bizarre start. And we'll later see how the action falls apart even further, but this is already a sign to me that something is already a little off. It's not the worst thing in the movie, but it is noticeable. So obviously our heroes take out the baddies, and they pile up their bodies and use another pulse, since the bad guys destroyed the one they were using prior, to essentially have a worm devour the bodies. So our main character, Paul, is brought into this group where he's thought of as a spy, and others think of him already as this messiah. Now, from the original Dune movie, I don't know if this is in the book or not, I don't remember anything about messiahs or prophets or gods or any of that stuff in the first movie. And I don't know if it's in the book either, but this seems to be a new thing for this movie, and it is vital to this story. It is essentially like how the plot moves forward is through this ideal that our main character Paul is seen as this prophet, is seen as this messiah, this chosen one, destined to save them. And to me, what this reads of, it sort of reads to me like the inverse problem of having a multiverse, right? Where you have, you know, when you kill a character from a multiverse, you can just pull one out from another multiverse. This is like an inverse problem where it's like, you're you're always destined to succeed because you're destined to succeed, and it's a loop of that over and over again. And that's why I always constantly struggle. You even hear me if you've seen any of my previous videos when I talk about Digimon, why I always push back against the destiny aspect of it. Chosen, sure, but I don't think that equals destiny. Even though I know they're called the Digi-Destined at a point. Point being, in getting back on track, so we meet the love interest, who I'll just call Zen for short, because I don't recall what her full name was. It's like a given name that like means something else too, so I don't know. Anyways, so she's already gained his respect, and I will just say this now to save anyone any trouble. The romance in this between the two is extremely just flat and boring. My God, do people even know how to write heterosexual couples anymore? So what is happening with our with our modern movies, right? I feel like I should bring that up since I know that there are other video people that mentioned, oh, the modern movies, they're all going woke, even though that's been a thing since like the 1990s. If woke means what I think it means. But anyway, so yeah, we cut back to our baddies, and Dave Bautista, is one of the baddies. I don't remember his character's name at all, to be honest. The first thing we see him do is be mad at something, like them taking out this group in the first place. So he's like a higher in command. Excuse me. And then we kind of cut back to this inner group, and I thought that I don't remember what they even talk about. In my notes, I put like they chat about something because I was not paying attention to this meeting, honestly, that well. It honestly, I think it could have been cut just to save a little bit of time. I mean, it's not that long, so whatever. Anyway, a part of this whole prophecy thing is that Paul believes that he must convince the non-believers that he is indeed a prophet, this Messiah figure, to rally the troops, as it were. And the mother goes on a bizarre journey. His mother, specifically. She becomes like the leader guy there tells her that she needs to become like this mega mother, or whatever the word is. It's like something mother. But I think if I was getting this correctly, I think this allows her to commune to the other mothers around the world of this planet. I think that's how it works. It was never too clear. There's like one scene of it, quite frankly, and it's only from one person's perspective, so I wasn't sure like how that works exactly. But anyway. So, in order to accept this role, by the way, she has to drink this blue liquid stuff. And she's told that she could die from it, but obviously she's fine. And she goes on about like how this is only for women to do, and like how a man can't do it. and later on the main character ends up doing it, so it's like, oh, okay. Like, I guess we're not doing a pure feminist thing, I guess. Um, anyway, they all get upset because they find out that she's pregnant. I'm not even sure how, but whatever. So anyways, we as we're continuing in this little hut or area, our two sides, our believers and non-believers, are arguing over, well, the said prophecy, whether it's if it's a real thing or if it's a fake thing that destiny could be avoided. The love interest is consistently throughout the movie against this whole prophecy thing. I should mention that now, I suppose. And the prophet side is even more swayed by Paul when he says he was, it's not about me, I'm not the chosen one. It's like, then they're like, oh, he's definitely the chosen one if his behavior is that. It's like, so the movie is, again, it's subscribing to the thing I was just talking about, how it's a self-loop of, like, he's the chosen one because he's the chosen one, even if he says he's not the chosen one, that just means he's the chosen one. Loop. It's like, ugh. So we see that she finds him sincere now. That's scene number 2 of them interacting, by the way. And that's all she says. And then they finally have a moment together, like at this juncture, where they're worm walking together, because you have to do it a certain way, I guess, even from part 1 or whatever, and guides him along. And then she begins to explain this contraption. I guess it's not important because it fades out, and we're seeing him oogle at her. And now that the mother has done her whole bit, she is now swayed by Paul's revelation that she now must too also sway the non-believers to his side. We do this weird cut here where suddenly we're elsewhere with this group, and they're already sneaking into this enemy group, killing them along the way, doing all this stuff. It does come across as a not planned thing that just happens to go really well for them. And so it does seem like it does come out of nowhere. We see that Paul and Zen here are moving with this huge-ass transport thing. It's like a spider transport machine, metal machine. And there are ships on the outside looking for them underneath, essentially, and then they have to, like, snipe at the ships. So, Paul runs ahead, for distraction purposes, and then she aims the gun, and they aim it, and they're successful. And then as he returns successfully from this mission, they are like, the swaying gets stronger, etc., etc. And he begins to talk about how he knows how this group organizes or fights based on their war, the royalty's war, because he's part of royal family, has been fighting for them, and they know the desert, so that they can use each other's sort of benefits, as it were. Here, He's given his own given name, Usul, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll just keep calling him Paul. He moves his crest ring off temporarily, by the way. I'm not sure why, but because he's going to end up putting it back on anyway. And then Zan Tux gives him a good old join over. And they begin talking about water, and where he was from anyway. Apparently there was water there. And she talks about how her name was a name she hated for some reason. Oh, because it involved the prophecy, because obviously she's anti-prophecy. And then they kiss. So they had 3 scenes together, and then that happens. It's like, oh, okay, they're a couple now, okay. It's like, again, I don't know if writers even know how to do heterosexual couples anymore. It's like, what? That's it? That's the build-up? Like, 3 scenes where they barely talk to each other. Keep in mind that in part 1, she was at the end of it, so that's all we have of their time together is in this movie. So what the fuck? It's like, how? I don't understand. I don't understand this movie. So anyways, they take out some more ships, blah blah blah. The baddies are getting all worked out. Dave Bautista's character, I think I wrote his name as Raven. I'm not really sure if that was his name or not, but he's threatened that by the fat evil. What's his name? I wrote it somewhere. Vlad, for short. And that essentially allows this consistent thing where the villains kill their own lower beings to threaten another person that's there that's alive to be like, better not step out of line or that's you. So they have that kind of shtick going on. Anyway. So he's given, we cut back to our hero, Paul, where he's having a nightmare about this whole failure thing, but it's vague now. And she's trying to explain how the spice is what's doing it. It's making him freak out. And he is told to do a final test to hook onto a giant worm and then ride it. He does so. He ends up, obviously, because he's a chosen one and loop. He obviously gets one of the big ones. We see him anchor onto it and ride it, all nice and good. With this news spreading, the mother hears about this and she spreads it, tells, oh, once it comes back, she's like, oh, tell everyone else. So obviously this is to evoke the rest of the people to be like, ooh, that prophecy though. So they're now having an argument because they're currently in the north, and they get told, I forget what was going to cause them to go south initially, but something's happening in the south, or they need to travel there for something or other, and then essentially his dream or nightmare rather is what is not having him essentially wanting to go. And this is the first moment where I felt like, oh, he's getting to act, because he actually has an emotional moment. Wow, I wish that was present in the rest of the movie. Fuck me. Like, Jesus Christ. This is his first acting moment, and it's been, like, quite a while now, by the way. It's a 2-hour movie, if that isn't getting across, by the way. So anyways, they all get a ride. Obviously, once again, the baddies are reeling once more. But they decide that they're going to set out their attack, or retaliation rather, and start blind firing upon the mountain. This mountain where they assume that they are. Some of them obviously get taken out. No one important, obviously. So yeah, essentially the higher being, Vlad, wants these direct assaults to end. He's kind of talking about that and how to go about doing it, and these attacks leading to bigger faith and all this. And we meet his nephew, this new character, who, surprise, surprise, kills 2 ladies after licking a blade. Vlad heads out to the arena, and his nephew takes out 2 guys that are been drugged up, and the 3rd guy wasn't, as a gift, as this boss guy Vlad puts it. So he manages to kill the last guy though anyway. His nephew Arceus, I think that's how they pronounce his name, but I'll just call him Nephew, evil nephew guy, for sake of simplicity. So he gets nabbed by this woman that has been following him, because he's in this hallway. And she's playing coy and teasing him to join him in a room, and tells him to kneel, and then shows them this box. If you remember from the part 1, the box thing, it does this pain thing. It doesn't show it this time around, I guess. And somehow she ends up pregnant. I guess they end up having sex or something, and then some time later passes between this and the next scene, I guess, because now she's pregnant. That's this female being Margot, and she's talking about how this will secure their line, and how family and bloodlines are important. Here we see the Mr. Vlad mouth kiss his own nephew for upgrade. I'm not joking. That is what happens. So yeah, incest. Yep. Anyway, I'm just gonna leave that there and move on. So we cut to some other guy who's transporting some stuff with his allies, and they get caught up by our hero group. Turns out that he knows Paul personally, so they have a little reunion. And he tells him about his father's weaponry that has all these high-powered missiles. Zed talks about not trusting this new, or someone who's with her. It's talking about how not to be trusted, but she's putting her faith in him, that being Paul, obviously. Oh, that's what it's called, Reverend Mother. Of the North is on the move. I guess they're based on cardinal directions and whatever. And we get some more narration about war is on the horizon. The mother is shown how to kill a worm and how to abstract more of this blue goo from the worm. So that's where they get this water of life. That's what they call it anyway. Um, Anyways, we cut back to the sands where Zed sees something out in the desert dunes. And one of their nearby temples is crumpled by an aircraft. We cut back to our baddies where the nephew kills a guy because he asked a question, so that's how deep throat again they are, once again. In case you forgot that they do that. And based on movements, now they're being forced to essentially move south, our main group that being. But in the meantime, Paul has been like ranked up in this whole prophecy thing. But he refuses to go south because he keeps seeing that it's going to end poorly. Bad guys move in, and everyone, the South is popping off as it was. So they get more blue drink from this worm, blah blah blah. Anyway, Zen checks in with Paul. He was like brought into this like sanctum where he decided, as I mentioned earlier, to try this blue goo stuff that allows you to see the future, I guess. And as I talked about earlier with the whole woman thing, he was the first guy to try it and succeed after some assistance from her, Zen being that person for him. He awakens, he is slapped by her, and walks off. Apparently, we learn here that the mother is the daughter of Vlad. So I don't know what their tree line. I don't know what the fuck their tree line looks like, but so more praying happens while they're in this inner circle. Paul goes through said inner circle. He starts to rally and rage against everyone's, I should say the main character in this book is awful. He gets worse and worse. This is not a progression of character. This is like a regression of character. That's his journey, is a regression. Like, literally. Like, that's part 2. Regression rate. Because this is, like, definitely a part of his regression here, as he's, like, threatening people to get in line. He's, like, challenging everybody in the way. So he's like, yep, I'm in charge, I guess. But he's called out by the baddie's family, who we see from their perspective. Vlad gets cut off by an even higher emperor guy, played by one Christopher Walken. So they use the weapons as they're moving their way in, our good guy group, to plow some men, fire, move the worms in. They're charging in at the doors. The siege of the doors eventually work their way down. And Paul moves in, and everyone's on guard. Vlad has been on the ground for a while now. And he just walks up to Vlad casually, as everyone just has their guard up but doesn't move at all. And he just casually kills him. He casually kills him, and no one's like, yeah, but okay. It's like, what is with these bad guys? What is this? How do they maintain structure? I don't understand. So the war outside is still raging on, though. So, you know, there's that. Paul uses the more missiles that he has on his end. So, you know, that's always fun as a threat. And then he regresses even further. He proposes that he will marry one of their people, even though he's currently with Zan. And she's there, by the way. She witnesses his proposal to this young woman on their side. And after his little duel with the nephew, which is like where our movie essentially ends, he is stabbed within the duel, Paul himself, but he wins the day over, getting the death stab, which is the only important stab, I guess, in this case. And then he proposes this whole shtick. He gets the Emperor to kneel to him, and then they take the good guys take all the ships and just, I guess they just leave them there. And then, but Zed is left behind, and we see her culling a worm on her own for some reason, and that's where the movie ends. Whew! This movie is bad, or part, I guess. And yeah, it's clearly setting up a part 3. Because she said the war isn't over yet. There's something else left to do, apparently. And I'm sorry, but like, part 1 didn't even get me invested. What the fuck? And then this movie comes out and goes even more off the wall with this whole prophecy bullshit and lack of character, romantic relationship, and bad guys that are just like off each other if they're like out of line. And for a second, we have executed plans that are executed off screen, deaths that make no sense from perspective of where enemies are at certain times. They just get off because we need some action here. And yeah, this is bad. This entire movie is awful. This is a oh man, I don't know if it's a 2 or 3 out of 10. This is really, really bad. I don't know. With the staleness of the acting, but that one scene, I think I'm gonna push it for a 3 out of 10. But that's the highest I can go with it. So yeah, this movie is easily a 3 out of 10. And that's my review of Dune Part 2. If you ended up enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. And want to head over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers, so get a third to my Patreon and PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly. And fourth to my Discord server, you can join Collab Shield, do that cool stuff. Until next time, bye-bye.